It's Donna Cravata, and we're live again for Sustainable Rhythm. This is my summer series that I'm hosting, and it is all about my methodology, which is a combination of tried and new and found and known. And in this week's article, is a series of 10 altogether. And they're actually broken out into two sections: the inner work and the outer work. So this is the next to last article on the inner work, and it is called "Your Content is the Mixtape of Your Wisdom." And oh boy, this is one of my favorites because this is when it really all starts to gel. So far, if you have been following along or if you want to go back and watch the replays, we've talked about intentionality and understanding your values and finding your North Star, starting to look through the content that you already have and the accomplishments that you have accumulated over the years, often that we forget about or we put aside for one reason or another. And today, what we're going to talk about is, um, what's underneath all of that, what drives all of this, and what happens when we start to remember and reclaim these parts of ourselves that we put aside along the way. And my work is really intended for women over 50, but this is true for everyone. And it's not only true in this stage of life, but it's more prevalent in this stage of life because we actually have the space to maybe think of things we never thought about before. Like, what do we actually want? I didn't think of that for a very long time. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's in the article, and shortly after this live stream, I will put all the article information below, and it will be there if you want to come back and read it, because this isn't work you do once. This is a practice that you adopt. And as we grow and as we change, that tail that we have of the wisdom that we've accumulated, the experiences, the accomplishments, the things that we perceive as failures that really aren't failures because they're lessons, they're things that teach us something along the way. It changes, and externally things change. The world is changing faster than it ever has before, and we need to be involved in that as well. So, as we're changing internally as human beings, everything around us is spinning in other directions. So this doesn't end, and that's actually a good thing. I think that's one of the special parts about adopting this practice at this stage of life, because I think we could have a little bit more of a sense of humor about things that maybe we didn't have a sense of humor about 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. And we've just got experience. We know what's important and what really matters. And we really understand what we value in ourselves, in our communities, in the people that we want to be connected with. Um, so a lot of what I've been talking about has been um, not really to focus on the how-to of this work. And I don't really want to be known to be the click here, do that person. Um, AI has really changed all of that because we can go into any AI tool and ask for steps on how to do a specific thing. And the faster we adopt to that practice, the easier everything's going to be because we can really learn anything now. And that's such a good use for AI, because it's just you're asking it to do an arbitrary thing, and it's perfect for that. The parts where it gets a little sketchy is when you're asking AI to be you, asking AI to pick up your voice and to know your stories. It's not going to know any of that unless you tell it. And even if you do share that information with AI, you need to be involved in the equation because they are your stories. AI has never stayed up at 3 in the morning worrying about something. It's never been in the hospital. It doesn't have a nervous system. It can't react to things. So, you have to bring that part to the equation. And the thing that I want to be known for in all of this work, and that I would really encourage you to want to be curious about more than anything else, is rethinking your relationship with your content and how you share your stories and your voice and what you want people to know about you, and the tools that are available to help us do this, because we could do things that we never imagined. I mean, this is Jetsons level stuff. If we think back to like the 80s and the 70s, and like, when we were coming up in this world, and what was available to us. And it's not something that I expected to have. And it's changed my life in so many ways. It's changed the way that I work. It's changed my business. It's changed my relationships. Um, and not in a way where I feel like I gave anything up. It's more, and it's enhanced because I could let go of things that tools could do for me, that opens up space for more interesting things to happen, like within me as a human being. So all of this work feeds that. And I hope you're exploring it. And if you have questions, ideas, comments, please bring them, because this is my favorite topic and I would love to share. It's not, I'm still, oh, how do I say this? I've been doing this work for 15 years and it's not done. I don't think it'll ever be done, but it's never boring. It's always interesting. And every new layer brings something that I didn't expect. So I welcome you to be on this ride with me. So, about this particular piece of the puzzle, it's about taking your content and creating a mixtape out of it. And if you remember making a mixtape, imagine it's 1982 and you're sitting on the floor in your bedroom and you have albums scattered around you, or your favorite radio stations teed up waiting to catch a song in between commercials. You are measuring how long each song is, how many songs could fit on this side of the tape. Are these songs representing who I am, how I want people to see me? Maybe it's you're creating this for somebody special, probably somebody that wasn't worth all that effort. But this isn't a playlist that you can create on a streaming app. You put some effort into this, you put thought, you put care, you put love into this. Now, what if you were able to do that for yourself and take that amount of care and love that you put in to creating a soundtrack for where you were, the part of stage of life that you were in at that moment, and create that for yourself now with snippets and parts of all of the things that brought you to where you are right now. So whether that be blog posts or bits of interviews, or an embarrassing moment, or a job that you had for 10 minutes in 1993, all of these bits and pieces make you who you are. And in the last article, and it's several of the articles, I mentioned the tried and new process, which is where you take something that you're reviewing. For me, it's always been about content, but I've realized that I've done this my whole life. I did this with redecorating my house. This is how I process things. But you take what you have, whatever it might be, and you start to audit it and edit it with what goes, what stays, what could be upcycled and recycled, what could be given away, and what could be sold. And what you're letting go of, you let it go. You don't need it anymore. It served its purpose. Take the parts of it that you need. What stays, that's what you're going to carry forward. And then you could start to break that into different things, like what could be upcycled or recycled. This is a great way to use AI. And in the next article, we're really going to get into that a little bit more tactically. But for now, I just want you to think about, what else could this be? Could this be an article? Could I put a couple of things together and turn this into a program? Could this be a one-day conference that I host? Can this be like a new service that I offer? Could it just be something that makes me feel good about what I've done for 40 years? Think about what else it is. What happens when it's not an article or an individual interview, but when you start to layer these things together, what else could it be? And what does it represent for these parts of your life? Then, what could be given away and what could be sold? This is something that we often are challenged with in our businesses. Um, what can we give away? Like, we all want to be generous. We want to share what we know. I mean, I'm giving away this entire series and sharing my methodology, sharing how it's changed, how it's evolved, and what's stayed the same. And what could be sold. This is your services. So often I work with clients and they don't know. They don't know what to give away. So they come up with some PDF that nobody ever wants. And meanwhile, they've got this rich history of things that they could put together. And with the tools, like, this is what I'm saying, rethink your relationship with your content and the tools, because we have access now to do things that were really hard to do before. But like on platforms like Substack, we could easily create like a private podcast that we could give to people or sell to people, one or the other. But what is it? It could be a series of interviews that you've done. You can repurpose those into something else. Um, it could be an old course that you had that you can, repurpose it and make it into a series of podcast interviews where you just talk over it. So there's not a lot of production value to this. You can just do it on audio. Um, Maybe some light editing, maybe not. And then you can upload it as audio in Substack and have it behind a paywall where that's now part of one of your paid tiers on Substack. And you can create that in a day. It doesn't need to be a lot. Um, there's so many opportunities now, and um, just looking at what you already have is so incredibly valuable because we're always in a rush to see what's next. We always think somebody else knows better than we do. We think somebody else has that answer that's eluding us in some way. But when we start to really dig in and look at what we already have, I have yet to find a situation where the person whether it was me or somebody else, didn't already have what they needed, or at least enough of it to kind of start making some informed decisions. Um, as an example, part of the work that I do is gathering sound bites, things you say, things you don't realize you say, like the term intentional visibility. I have been using the word visibility for 10, 12 years in my work, but it started to become a buzzword. And I was like, well, I don't want to be part of this buzzword crowd because I've been using this forever. So I don't know, maybe about a year ago, I started to think, maybe I need to talk about visibility differently. And I come up with this epiphany that I had that I'm going to talk about intentional visibility. And then I start listening to some past podcasts that I was on and listening to some client calls, just to kind of, capture some of these past moments of my work. And I'd been talking about intentional visibility for 2 years and didn't even recognize it because I wasn't listening to myself as intently as I listened to other people. And you can do the same thing. Just, start listening to old interviews that you were on, upload them into an AI tool and start asking questions. One of the things that I did when I first launched this Substack a few months ago was I uploaded 145 interviews and the transcripts from 145 interviews and 18 panels into what used to be Google Notebook LM and is now Gemini Notebook. And then I also uploaded 55 articles that I wrote over the course of a year on LinkedIn that not enough people saw. And I started to ask questions. And I created a data table from the interview transcripts. And I asked how many topics we talked about. And we talked about 347 topics over the period of 3.5 years of interviews on this live stream that I do called The Real 50 Over 50. And then I asked what were the top 10, and it gave me the top 10. And then I looked at the number one topic, and it was remembering and reclaiming. Reinvention did not make the top 10 topics that I spoke to 145 women about. And that really like led me down even deeper into this rabbit hole of reinvention and what it really means. And it's not what women over 50 are looking for. We are not looking to start over. We worked hard to become who we are or who we're becoming. We did the work of healing. We did the work of letting go. We did the work of recognizing who we are. And this entire process is about remembering and reclaiming the stories, the things that made us us, the things that we've gone through, our own personal history. This is the evidence of our wisdom. And when we could take that evidence and turn this into a mixtape, it's like this self-love bomb that it's unavoidable. We can't not see it, and neither can anybody else. So I encourage you to read through this article that will be up in just a few minutes and create a mixtape of your own wisdom. Go back and find things that made you who you are. Those that article that you wrote, that meeting that you attended, where you spoke up in a way that you never spoke up before, where you stopped putting somebody else in front of yourself and you claimed your seat at the table. What happened in that moment? What made you do that? What made you recognize that, yes, I actually can do this? Yeah, maybe I am smarter than that guy in the corner over there. Gather those moments, because those are the moments that become the foundation of what you're building next. And, if you're in the same boat I'm 62 years old. This next chapter that I'm building, this is probably the last one. So I want to make it count. I want to make it matter. I want to make it the best that it could be. And I want to do it with others. So let's do it together. Anyway, I will be back next week with more. Dive in, go to the other articles, read through them, watch these little live streams that I'm sharing. There's a workbook that you can download. I left the link in the chat, and we have our next roundtable hopefully on August 20th, but I'm being called for jury duty, so I'm not sure if that date is going to change or not. But become part of this conversation. It really is. It's important, and we I've been working for a long time. I've been living for a longer time, and this is the thing that has really changed my life and my work, and I've seen it happen for others. And when you step back and look at it, it's incredibly simple, and we can all do this. We don't need anything special to do this. So re-examine yourself. Remember and reclaim all of your parts. Gather your stories and then share them track by track. Have a great rest of your day. And if you have questions, comments, just put them somewhere. I'm all over the place. Let's get a conversation going.